My name is Pearl, and I am 56 years old. Tonight should have been the first Christmas Eve I spent with my daughter's family after years of being apart. I raised Margot alone for 30 years, sacrificing everything a mother could give. But here I am, sitting by myself in a tiny apartment, watching snowflakes fall outside my window while my heart shatters into 1,000 pieces. My daughter told me I was no longer needed, and the worst part is she said it in front of everyone. Before we begin, let me know where you are watching from tonight. Drop a comment below and hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. And if you have ever felt invisible to the person you love most, stay with me. Because what happened at midnight changed everything. When my husband Dennis walked out on us, Margot was only 2 years old. I can still remember standing in the doorway of our small apartment, holding her tiny hand, while we watched his car disappear down the street. He left us for another woman, someone younger, someone without the responsibility of a child. He never looked back, never sent a single dollar, never called to ask about his daughter. It was as if we had never existed to him at all. I was 26 years old at the time, working at a laundromat on the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio. The pay was barely enough to cover rent and groceries, but it was honest work, and the owner was kind enough to let me bring Margot with me sometimes when I could not afford a babysitter. My own parents had passed away in a car accident when I was 19, so there was no family to turn to, no safety net to catch me when I fell. It was just me and my little girl against the world. Those early years were the hardest of my life. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just to keep a roof over our heads. During the day, I folded sheets and towels at the laundromat, breathing in the smell of detergent until it seeped into my skin. In the evenings, I cleaned office buildings downtown, pushing a vacuum cleaner through empty hallways while Margot slept at a neighbor's house. On weekends, I picked up shifts at a small diner near the highway, serving coffee and pie to truckers passing through town. A typical day for me began at 4 in the morning. I would wake up before the sun, prepare breakfast, and pack a lunch for Margot, then get her dressed and drop her off at the daycare center that opened early for working mothers like me. From there, I would rush to the laundromat work until 3 in the afternoon, pick up Margot, feed her dinner, then leave her with Mrs. Patterson next door while I went to clean offices until 10 at night. By the time I got home, my feet ached so badly I could barely walk, and my hands were raw from chemicals and hot water. But I never complained, not once, because every time I looked at Margot's sleeping face, every time she wrapped her little arms around my neck and whispered that she loved me, I knew it was all worth it. She was the reason I kept going, the light that guided me through the darkest nights. There were moments when the loneliness became unbearable. I would sit in the bathroom after Margot fell asleep, turn on the faucet to muffle the sound and cry until I had no tears left. I cried for the husband who abandoned us, for the parents I lost too young for the life I had imagined but would never have. But in the morning, I would wash my face, put on a smile, and pretend everything was fine. Because that is what mothers do. I had chances to date again over the years. There were men who showed interest, kind men who might have made good partners. But I always said no. I had seen what a careless man could do to a family, and I refused to take that risk with my daughter. What if the new man turned out to be like Dennis? What if he hurt Margot or made her feel unwanted in her own home? I could not bear the thought of putting her through that kind of pain. So I stayed alone, pouring all my love into my child, hoping it would be enough. When Margot turned 7, she asked for a bicycle for her birthday. It was a modest request, but at that time even modest things were luxuries we could not afford. I had been saving money for months, putting aside a few dollars here and there, but it still was not enough. So I did something I never thought I would do. I sold my wedding ring, the only thing Dennis left behind, the only reminder of a marriage that had once held so much promise. I sold it to a pawn shop for $80 and bought Margot the prettiest pink bicycle I could find. The look on her face when she saw it that morning is something I will carry with me forever. She screamed with joy, threw her arms around me, and said I was the best mother in the whole wide world. That moment made every sacrifice worthwhile. That moment reminded me why I kept fighting. As Margot grew older, our bond only deepened. We were not just mother and daughter. We were best friends, partners in crime. Two souls who understood each other without needing words. Every Saturday night, we would cook dinner together, laughing and singing along to the radio while we stirred pots and chopped vegetables. Every night before bed, I would read to her from her favorite books, doing silly voices for the characters until she giggled so hard she could barely breathe. Every Sunday afternoon, we would walk to the park near our apartment, feed the ducks, and talk about our dreams. Margot used to say something that always made my heart swell with love. She would look up at me with those big brown eyes and say, "Mommy, when I grow up, I will take care of you forever." I would smile, kiss her forehead, and reply, "You are my greatest blessing, sweetheart." And I meant it with every fibre of my being. When she was 10 years old, Margot made me a Mother's Day card entirely by hand. She spent hours on it, cutting and gluing and drawing with coloured pencils. On the front was a picture of the two of us holding hands under a rainbow, and inside, in her careful handwriting, she had written, "You are my hero, Mom. I will never leave you." I cried when I read those words, holding her tight and promising that I would always be there for her too. I kept that card in my nightstand drawer, taking it out to read whenever I felt low. For 20 years it remained my most treasured possession. Looking back now, those days seem like a beautiful dream. A dream I did not realize was already beginning to fade. Margot was always a bright student, the kind of child who made teachers smile and shake their heads in amazement. So when she received a full scholarship to a prestigious university in Boston, I was bursting with pride. My daughter, the girl I had raised alone with nothing but determination and love, was going to attend one of the best schools in the country. It was more than I ever dared to hope for. But pride came hand in hand with fear. Boston was so far from Columbus, and Margot had never been away from home for more than a few nights. As I helped her pack her suitcases, I tried to hide the tears that kept threatening to fall. I told myself it was natural for children to leave the nest, that this was what every parent worked toward. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered that things would never be the same again. The first year of college, Margot called me every single day. She told me about her classes, her professors, the friends she was making. She described her dormitory room, the dining hall, food, the beautiful autumn leaves on campus. It felt like she was still right beside me, sharing every moment of her life. I lived for those phone calls, waiting by the phone each evening like a teenager waiting for her first love. But in the second year, the calls became less frequent. 3 times a week, then twice, then once, if I was lucky. When I asked if everything was okay, Margot assured me she was just busy with her studies. I understood, or at least I told myself I did. She was growing up, building her own life. I could not expect her to talk to her mother every day forever. The house felt emptier than ever. I had grown so accustomed to Margot's presence, her laughter filling the rooms, her music playing from her bedroom. Without her, the silence was deafening. I would sit at the kitchen table in the evenings, eating dinner alone, staring at the empty chair across from me. Sometimes I would catch myself setting 2 places instead of 1, and the realization would hit me like a punch to the stomach. It was during her second year that Margot first mentioned Garrett. She called me one Sunday afternoon, her voice bright and excited, and told me she had met someone special. His name was Garrett Whitmore, and he was in her economics class. She said he was smart and confident, and came from a good family. The way she talked about him, I could tell she was already falling in love. I was happy for her, truly I was. Every mother wants her daughter to find someone who makes her smile. But there was something in Margot's voice that unsettled me, a breathlessness that seemed almost desperate. And when I asked when I could meet this young man, she hesitated. "Soon, Mum," she said. "When the time is right." That phrase stuck with me, though. I could not explain why. Months passed, and Margot and Garrett's relationship grew more serious. She talked about him constantly, about his ambitions, his family's wealth, the places he had traveled. But whenever I brought up visiting or having him come to Ohio, she changed the subject. I began to wonder if she was embarrassed by our small house, our simple life. The thought hurt more than I wanted to admit. Finally, after 2 years of dating, Margot announced that she was bringing Garrett home to meet me. I was beside myself with excitement. For weeks, I prepared the house, scrubbing every surface until it gleamed, rearranging furniture, buying new curtains for the living room. I cooked my special barbecue ribs, the recipe my mother had taught me before she passed the dish Margot had loved since childhood. I wanted everything to be perfect. The day they arrived, I stood at the front door with my heart pounding. Margot ran up and hugged me, and for a moment it felt like old times. Then Garrett stepped out of the car, and my first impression was one of polished perfection. He was tall and handsome, dressed in clothes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He shook my hand with a firm grip, smiled with straight white teeth, and said all the right things. But his eyes were cool and appraising as they swept over the house, the neighborhood, the faded paint on the shutters. I saw something flicker in his expression, something that looked almost like disdain. Dinner that night was awkward. Garrett barely spoke, spending most of the meal looking at his phone or giving one-word answers to my questions. When I asked about his family, he said only that his father was in real estate and his mother was a homemaker, then quickly changed the subject. Margot seemed nervous, glancing at Garrett constantly as if seeking his approval before saying anything. It was so unlike the confident, independent girl I had raised. After they left the next morning, I lay awake for hours, trying to understand the unease that had settled in my chest. Garrett had not been rude exactly, but there was a coldness about him that worried me, and Margot had been different too, quieter, more subdued. I told myself I was being overprotective, that I was looking for problems where there were none. But deep down, I knew something had changed in my daughter, and I was not sure I liked what she was becoming. The wedding invitation arrived in a cream-coloured envelope with gold lettering. Margot and Garrett were to be married at the Whitmore family estate in the suburbs of Boston. It was going to be a grand affair, the invitation said, with 300 guests, a 12-piece orchestra, and a reception under a tent imported from France. As I read the details, I felt a strange mix of joy and apprehension. My little girl was getting married, but somehow I already felt like a stranger at her celebration. I saved for 3 months to buy a proper dress for the occasion. It was a simple navy blue gown, nothing fancy, but it was the nicest thing I had ever owned. I had my hair done at a salon for the first time in years, and even bought a new pair of shoes that pinched my feet but looked elegant. I wanted Margot to be proud of me, wanted to show that even a woman from a laundromat could hold her head high among the wealthy and privileged. On the day of the wedding, I arrived at the Whitmore estate early. The house was enormous, a sprawling mansion with white columns and perfectly manicured gardens. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway, and staff in black and white uniforms hurried about carrying flowers and champagne. I felt like an imposter, a plain sparrow who had accidentally wandered into a gathering of peacocks. That was when I first met Lorraine Whitmore. She appeared at the entrance as I was stepping out of my rental car, dressed in a pale pink suit that probably cost more than everything I owned combined. Her silver hair was styled in an elegant updo, and diamonds glittered at her ears and throat. She was beautiful, in a cold, untouchable way, like a statue carved from marble. Her eyes moved over me slowly, taking in my modest dress, my discount store shoes, my nervous expression. Then she smiled a smile that did not reach her eyes and said, "Oh, you must be Pearl. Margot mentioned you work at a laundromat. How humble." I felt my face burn with shame, but I forced myself to smile back and extend my hand. "It is nice to meet you, Mrs. Whitmore. Margot has told me so much about your family." Lorraine took my hand briefly, her grip limp and dismissive. "Yes, well, she said we have been so blessed to have Margot become part of our family. She fits right in with us." Then she turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone on the steps. When I entered the venue and looked for my seat, I discovered that I had been placed at a table in the far corner near the door to the kitchen. The other guests at my table were clearly not part of the inner circle, either distant relatives and plus ones who had nowhere else to go. From where I sat, I could barely see the altar where Margot would say her vows. The ceremony itself was breathtaking. Margot looked like a princess in her white gown, her face radiant with happiness. Garrett stood tall and proud beside her, the picture of the perfect groom. But as they exchanged their vows, I noticed something that broke my heart. Margot did not look at me once. Her eyes were fixed on Garrett, then on his family, then on the minister. Not once did she glance toward the corner where her mother sat alone. During the reception, Lorraine gave a speech that still echoes in my mind. She stood at the head table, champagne glass in hand, and spoke in a voice dripping with pride. Today, she said, "I am not just gaining a daughter-in-law. I am gaining the daughter I never had. Margot has brought such light into our family, and I cannot imagine our lives without her. Finally, our family is complete." The guests applauded warmly. Margot beamed up at Lorraine with adoration in her eyes. And I sat at my distant table, clapping along with everyone else, trying to pretend that my heart was not breaking. No one asked me to give a speech. No one introduced me to the other guests or included me in the conversations. When the photographer called for family photos, the instruction was clear. Just the Whitmore family first. Margot said nothing, made no move to include me, or even acknowledge that her own mother was standing just a few feet away. I stepped aside quietly and watched as she posed with Garrett's family, smiling and laughing as if I did not exist. After the wedding, Margot moved into a beautiful house that the Whitmores had purchased for the newlyweds. It was in an upscale neighborhood surrounded by other mansions and manicured lawns. I visited once shortly after they returned from their honeymoon in Italy. Margot showed me around the house with obvious pride, pointing out the designer furniture, the gourmet kitchen, the walk-in closets filled with clothes I could never afford. But something was different about my daughter. She seemed distant, distracted, constantly checking her phone for messages from Lorraine. When I tried to talk to her about how I was feeling about the loneliness of the wedding day, she brushed me off. "You are being too sensitive, Mom," she said. "Lorraine did not mean anything by it. She is just very involved in our lives. You should be happy for me." After that visit, our communication dwindled to almost nothing. Margot called once a week at first, then once every 2 weeks, then only when I called first. And even then, the conversations were rushed and superficial. She was always busy, always about to leave for dinner with Garrett's family or a shopping trip with Lorraine. I began to feel like a burden, an obligation she was trying to avoid. I told myself it was normal that newlyweds needed space to build their own lives. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was losing my daughter one phone call at a time. 3 years passed, and each one felt longer than the last. I retired from the laundromat when my back started giving me trouble, and suddenly I had nothing but time on my hands. Time to think, time to remember, time to miss my daughter. I stayed in the same small house in Columbus, the one where Margot had grown up. The neighborhood had changed over the years, becoming a little rougher around the edges, but I could not bring myself to move. Every room held memories of my daughter, echoes of her laughter, shadows of her childhood self. I kept her bedroom exactly as she had left it, dusting the shelves every week, washing the sheets, even though no one slept there. It was my way of holding on to her, of pretending she might come home any day. My only real friend during those years was Ruth, my neighbor from 3 houses down. She was 70 years old, a widow like me in many ways, though her husband had passed away rather than abandoned her. Ruth would come over for tea every afternoon, and we would sit on my porch watching the neighborhood children play. She listened patiently as I talked about Margot, never judging, never telling me to move on. "You are a good mother, Pearl," she would say. "Margot will realize that someday. Just give her time." I wanted to believe her, but with each passing month, my hope grew thinner. I tried to stay connected to my daughter through social media, learning to use Facebook, so I could see her photos and updates. But what I found there only deepened my pain. Margot's page was filled with pictures of her life in Boston, a life that did not include me. There were photos of her and Lorraine at expensive spas, at fancy restaurants, on vacations, to places I had only seen in magazines. In every caption, Margot referred to Lorraine as my second mom, or Mom L. They looked so happy together, their arms around each other, their smiles bright and genuine. There were no photos of me, not one. It was as if I had been erased from my daughter's history. The most painful moment came on Mother's Day. I had sent Margot a card and a small gift, hoping she might call or at least send a message. Instead, I opened Facebook and saw a post that felt like a knife to my heart. It was a photo of Margot and Lorraine at brunch, their plates laden with eggs, Benedict, and mimosas. The caption read, "To the most amazing mother figure in my life. Thank you for everything you do. I love you, Mom L." I stared at that post for a long time, reading the words over and over until they blurred with my tears. She had not mentioned me at all. Not even a passing reference, not even a polite acknowledgement that she had another mother out there, a mother who had sacrificed everything for her. I closed my laptop and did not open it again for a week. Then, in early December, something unexpected happened. My phone rang on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, and when I saw Margot's name on the screen, I nearly dropped it in shock. She had not called me in almost 6 months. My hands trembled as I answered. "Mom." Her voice was soft, almost tentative. "I know it has been a while. I am sorry I have not called." "It is okay, sweetheart," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I have missed hearing from you." There was a pause. Then she spoke again. "Listen, Garrett and I are hosting Christmas dinner this year at our house. And I wanted to invite you. Garrett thinks it is time you meet the whole family properly. And I miss you, Mom." Those last 4 words shattered every wall I had built around my heart. She missed me. After all this time, after all the silence and distance, my daughter still missed me. I would love that I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I would love to be there. After we hung up, I sat on the couch and cried for an hour. But this time they were tears of joy, of relief, of hope. Maybe Ruth was right. Maybe Margot was finally coming back to me. I threw myself into preparations with an energy I had not felt in years. I bought a plane ticket to Boston, the first flight I had taken since a work conference 20 years ago. I spent days searching for the perfect gifts, finally settling on a beautiful cashmere scarf for Garrett and a handmade music box for Lorraine. For Margot, I worked on something special, a soft blue sweater I knitted by hand, spending every evening for 3 weeks with needles and yarn. I also decided to give her something precious, a delicate gold bracelet that had belonged to my mother passed down through 3 generations. It was the most valuable thing I owned, not because of its price, but because of its history. Ruth helped me pack on the morning of my departure. She held my hands and smiled at me with warm eyes. "See," she said, "she never forgot you. Go and enjoy your Christmas, dear." I boarded the plane with a heart full of hope and a suitcase full of love. Finally, after 3 long years, I was going to spend Christmas with my daughter. The plane landed in Boston on December 23rd, a cold, grey afternoon, with the promise of snow in the air. As I walked through the airport, I scanned the crowd eagerly, hoping to see Margot's face among the waiting families. But she was not there. Instead, a middle-aged man in a black suit held a sign with my name on it. He was a hired driver sent to pick me up and deliver me to the house. I tried not to feel disappointed. Margot was probably busy preparing for the party, I told myself. She had so much on her plate, so many guests to think about. It made sense that she could not come to the airport herself. I followed the driver to a sleek black car and settled into the leather back seat, watching the city pass by through tinted windows. The house was even more beautiful than I remembered, decorated for the holidays, with twinkling lights and fresh evergreen wreaths. A huge Christmas tree stood in the front window, its ornaments sparkling like jewels. For a moment, I allowed myself to feel excited, imagining the evening ahead, the conversations we would have, the memories we would make. Margot met me at the door with a quick hug and a distracted smile. She looked stunning in a red velvet dress, her hair styled in elegant waves. Behind her, I could hear the sounds of the party, already in progress, laughter and clinking glasses and soft Christmas music. "Mum, you made it," she said. Come in, come in. Everyone is already here." She led me through the foyer and into the living room, where a group of beautifully dressed people stood chatting with drinks in their hands. I recognized Garrett immediately, tall and polished as ever, talking to an older couple I did not know. And there, seated in the center of the room like a queen on her throne, was Lorraine. She looked at me with that same cool smile I remembered from the wedding. "Pearl," she said, "how lovely that you could join us." I forced myself to return the smile. "Thank you for having me, Lorraine. Your home is beautiful." The dinner table was set for 12 with fine china and crystal glasses and enough silverware to confuse anyone who had not grown up with etiquette lessons. I was shown to my seat at the far end of the table, as far from Margot as possible. On one side of me sat Garrett's brother Preston, a loud man who spent most of the meal talking about his golf handicap. On the other side was his wife Audrey, who barely acknowledged my existence. Throughout dinner, Lorraine dominated the conversation, telling stories about her family, her travels, her charitable work. Whenever Margot spoke, it was to agree with Lorraine or to add details to one of her anecdotes. They seemed so close, so in sync, finishing each other's sentences like mother and daughter should. I tried to contribute a few times, sharing memories from Margot's childhood or asking questions about the other guests. But each time I was interrupted or talked over. When I mentioned the Christmas we had spent making snow angels in the backyard when Margot was 8, Lorraine cut in smoothly. "Oh, but our family traditions are so much more refined," she said with a light laugh. "Last year we all flew to Aspen for the holidays. Margot absolutely loved it." "Did you not, darling?" Margot nodded enthusiastically. "It was amazing. We skied every day and had champagne by the fire every night." She did not even look at me as she spoke. After dinner, we gathered in the living room for the exchange of gifts. I watched as Lorraine presented Margot with a designer handbag that probably cost more than my entire outfit. The leather gleamed in the firelight, and Margot's face lit up with delight. "Thank you, Mom," she said, throwing her arms around Lorraine. "You always know exactly what I need." Mom. The word hung in the air like a verdict. When it was my turn, I pulled out the carefully wrapped packages I had brought. First, the sweater I had knitted each stitch made with love and hope. Then the small velvet box containing my mother's bracelet, the heirloom I had treasured my entire life. Margot took the gifts with a polite smile. "Oh, that is nice, Mum," she said, glancing briefly at the sweater before setting it aside. "Thank you." She did not unwrap the bracelet. She did not even look inside the box. Instead, she turned back to admire the handbag, running her fingers over the logo with obvious pleasure. Preston, who had clearly had too much wine, thought this would be a good moment for a joke. "Careful, Margot," he said with a smirk. "You might end up with two mothers fighting over you." Lorraine laughed, a tinkling sound that held no warmth. "Oh, no competition here," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "I think we all know who the real mother figure is in Margot's life now." The room fell silent for a moment. Everyone seemed to be waiting for Margot to say something to defend her mother, to acknowledge the woman who had sacrificed everything for her. And then my daughter spoke the words that destroyed me. "Lorraine has been there for me in ways I never imagined," she said, her voice calm and certain. "She is the only mum I need now." The world stopped. I could not breathe, could not think, could not feel anything except the devastating weight of those words crushing my chest. 30 years of love, 30 years of sacrifice, 30 years of sleepless nights and skipped meals and broken dreams, all dismissed in a single sentence. I stood up slowly, my legs trembling beneath me. No one moved. No one said anything. I walked to the hall closet and retrieved my coat, put it on with steady hands that did not match my shattered heart. Then I walked out the door, without a word. Behind me I heard Margot call out, "Mom, wait." I did not mean it like that, but I did not turn around. I could not. There was nothing left to say. I do not remember how I got to the hotel. My feet seemed to move on their own, carrying me through the cold streets until I found a small inn near the airport. The woman at the front desk must have seen something in my face, because she did not ask any questions, just handed me a key and pointed toward the elevator. The room was small and plain, with faded wallpaper and a window that looked out onto a parking lot. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at nothing, my mind empty, my heart numb. Snow had begun to fall outside, fat white flakes drifting past the streetlights, but I could not appreciate its beauty. All I could see was my daughter's face as she said those words. All I could hear was the finality in her voice. I did not cry. I had gone beyond tears, beyond grief, into a place of absolute emptiness. For 30 years I had built my entire life around my daughter. Every decision, every sacrifice, every dream had been for her. And now she had told me in front of strangers and a woman who had known her for only 3 years that I was no longer needed. I thought about all the things I had given up, the relationships I had avoided because I was afraid of bringing someone into Margot's life who might hurt her, the promotions I had turned down because they required travel and I could not bear to be away from her, the hobbies and interests I had abandoned because there simply was not time, not when I was working 3 jobs and raising a child alone. I had poured everything I had into being a good mother, and this was my reward. Erasure, dismissal, replacement. The hours crawled by. I watched the clock on the nightstand tick toward midnight each minute, stretching into eternity. Outside, the Christmas lights of the city blinked and sparkled, but they might as well have been a million miles away. At exactly 12 o'clock, my phone began to ring. Margot's name flashed on the screen, accompanied by a photo I had taken on her college graduation day, her smile bright and proud. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, it rang again, and again, and again. The text messages started coming too, one after another, filling up my screen. Mom, please answer. Something terrible happened. I need you. Mom, I am so sorry. Please pick up. Mom, please. I do not know who else to call. I stared at the messages, feeling nothing. She was probably just feeling guilty, I thought. Probably wanted to apologize for hurting my feelings. Well, it was too late for apologies. Some wounds were too deep to heal with words. After 15 missed calls, a new number appeared on my screen. I did not recognize it, but something made me answer. Mrs. Pearl, a male voice asked. This is Dr. Harrison from Massachusetts General Hospital. Your daughter asked me to call you. There has been an accident. My blood turned to ice. An accident? What kind of accident? Is she okay? Mrs. Pearl, the doctor said gently, I think you need to come to the hospital. I was out the door before he finished speaking. The taxi ride to the hospital was the longest of my life. I bargained with God, made promises I knew I could not keep, prayed with a desperation I had not felt since my parents died. Please let her be okay. Please do not take my daughter from me. Not now. Not like this. When I arrived at the emergency room, a nurse led me through a maze of corridors to a small private room. And there, sitting on a hospital bed with a brace on her wrist and bruises blooming across her face, was my daughter. Mom. Her voice cracked when she saw me. You came. I rushed to her side, my anger forgotten, my hurt pushed aside by overwhelming fear and love. Of course I came, I said, taking her hand carefully. What happened? Who did this to you? And then finally the truth came pouring out. It was Garrett, Margot whispered. It has been Garrett all along. She told me everything. How the abuse had started slowly, subtly, a few months after the wedding. A harsh word here, a shove there, nothing she could not explain away or forgive. But over time, it escalated. Garrett had problems controlling his anger, she said. When things did not go his way, when he felt embarrassed or challenged, he lashed out. And she was always the target. Lorraine knew. Of course she knew. But instead of helping Margot, she had protected her son. A good wife endures, Lorraine had told her. This is how wealthy families work. You think I never had to put up with difficulties? Your marriage is your responsibility. Make it work. And so Margot had tried to make it work. She had learned to anticipate Garrett's moods, to avoid topics that triggered his temper, to smile through the pain and pretend everything was fine. She had pulled away from me not because she did not love me, but because she was ashamed. Ashamed of what her life had become. Ashamed of the choices she had made. Ashamed to let me see how far she had fallen. Lorraine made it worse. Margot continued, her voice bitter. She would buy me things, take me places, make me feel special. And then she would tell me that you could not help me, that you had nothing to offer. She said if I stayed with Garrett, I would have everything. If I left, I would have nothing. So you stayed, I said softly. Margot nodded, tears streaming down her face. I was scared, Mom. I was so scared. And the longer I stayed, the harder it became to leave. I thought maybe I deserved it. Maybe this was just what marriage was supposed to be. I pulled her into my arms, careful not to hurt her injured wrist, and held her as she sobbed against my shoulder. What happened tonight? I asked. After you left, Garrett was furious, she said. He said you had embarrassed him in front of his family. He said I should have made you stay in Ohio where you belonged. And then he hit me, harder than ever before. My hands clenched into fists, but I kept my voice calm. And then I fought back. Margot said, a note of wonder in her voice. For the first time, I fought back. I scratched his face and ran out of the house. I called the police from a neighbor's phone. Garrett had been arrested, she told me. He was in custody now, waiting to be arraigned in the morning. Lorraine was at the police station trying to bail him out, making calls to lawyers and judges and anyone who might help her son escape consequences. But not this time, Margot said, her jaw set with determination. Not this time. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of our lives, but we faced them together. I postponed my return to Ohio and rented a small apartment near the hospital, a one-bedroom unit with just enough space for two women trying to rebuild their lives. The first thing I did was call Sandra, the lawyer, whose name the hospital social worker had given us. Sandra was a fierce woman in her 50s who specialized in domestic violence cases. She had short grey hair, sharp eyes, and a no-nonsense attitude that immediately made me feel we were in good hands. Sandra gathered evidence of the abuse, including photographs of Margot's injuries, medical records going back 2 years, and statements from neighbours who had heard arguments through the walls. She filed for an emergency protective order and began the divorce proceedings with surgical precision. Lorraine came to visit once a week after the arrest. She swept into our apartment in a cloud of expensive perfume and righteous indignation, demanding that Margot drop the charges and come home where she belonged. "Think about what you are doing," she hissed. "Think about your future. Without Garrett, you will have nothing. No money, no status, no life worth living. You will go back to being nobody, just like your mother." I had been sitting quietly in the corner, letting Margot handle the conversation. But at those words, something inside me snapped. I stood up and walked toward Lorraine, my voice steady despite the fury burning in my chest. "You tried to buy my daughter's love with money and manipulation," I said. "But real love cannot be bought." I raised her with nothing but my 2 hands and my whole heart. "And that is something your money will never replace." Lorraine's face twisted with contempt. "You think you know what is best for her? You are a nobody, a woman who spent her life folding other people's laundry." "Maybe so," I replied. But I never taught her that being hit was the price of a comfortable life. I never told her to endure abuse for the sake of appearances. Whatever I am a better mother than you ever were. For a long moment, Lorraine stared at me, her face pale with shock. No one had ever spoken to her this way, I realized. No one had ever challenged her authority, her superiority, her perfect image. She did not know how to respond. "Get out," Margot said quietly. Her voice was calm, but firm. "Get out of our home, Lorraine, and do not come back." Lorraine opened her mouth to argue, then seemed to think better of it. She gathered her coat and her dignity and walked to the door. "You will regret this," she said. "Both of you." The door closed behind her, and Margot collapsed into my arms. "Thank you, Mum," she whispered. "Thank you for standing up for me." I stroked her hair and kissed the top of her head. "Always, sweetheart. Always." The court date came 6 weeks later. Sandra had built an airtight case documenting not only the physical abuse, but also the financial manipulation and psychological control that the Whitmore family had exercised over Margot. Garrett's lawyer tried every trick in the book, attempting to discredit Margot's testimony, to paint her as unstable and attention-seeking. But the evidence spoke for itself. In the end, the judge ruled in Margot's favor. She was granted a divorce, a restraining order against Garrett, and a financial settlement that would allow her to start over. Garrett was sentenced to probation and mandatory anger management counseling. It was not enough, in my opinion, but it was something. It was a beginning. Lorraine sat in the back of the courtroom throughout the proceedings, her face a mask of cold fury. When the verdict was announced, she stood up and walked out without a word. I never saw her again. After the legal battles were over, Margot and I returned to Ohio. She moved back into her old bedroom, the one I had kept ready for her all those years. For the first few weeks, she was a shadow of herself, spending hours staring out the window or crying in the shower. She blamed herself for what had happened, for staying so long, for pushing me away. But slowly, day by day, she began to heal. I cooked her favourite meals from childhood, the macaroni and cheese and chicken pot pie that had always comforted her when she was sick. We watched old movies together, wrapped in blankets on the couch. We went for walks in the park, feeding the same ducks we had fed when she was a little girl. Ruth came over, often bringing casseroles and homemade cookies, and the kind of gentle wisdom that only comes with age. "You two are going to be just fine," she told us. "You have each other. That is all you need." She was right. 6 months later, Margot found a job at a non-profit organization that helped survivors of domestic violence. It was not glamorous work, and it certainly did not pay as much as the life she had left behind. But for the first time in years, I saw my daughter smile, genuinely saw the light return to her eyes. "I spent 3 years chasing something I thought was love," she told me one evening. "Big houses, expensive things, important people. But real love was here all along. I am so sorry I forgot that." I took her hand and squeezed it gently. "A mother's love does not keep score," I said. "You are my daughter, and nothing will ever change that." The following Christmas, we celebrated quietly in our little house. No mansion, no designer gifts, no crowds of important people. Just the two of us decorating a modest tree with ornaments we had made together when Margot was young. Paper snowflakes and painted pine cones and strings of popcorn. Nothing that would impress anyone, but everything that mattered to us. That night, I opened my nightstand drawer and took out the card Margot had made me when she was 10 years old. The edges were worn, now the paper yellowed with age, but the words were still clear. "You are my hero, Mom. I will never leave you." I showed it to Margot, and tears began to fall down her cheeks. I meant every word she said. I just forgot for a while. I held her close and let my own tears fall. "We all forget sometimes," I whispered. "The important thing is finding your way home." Looking back now, I realize that the worst night of my life led to the greatest blessing I could imagine. Losing my daughter nearly broke me. But getting her back, truly back, has healed wounds I did not even know I carried. Sometimes the people we love the most hurt us the deepest. But love is not about keeping score or holding grudges. It is about being there when they finally find their way home. If you are a mother who feels invisible tonight, forgotten or replaced, I want you to know something. Your love is not wasted. Every sacrifice you made, every tear you cried, every sleepless night, you endured, it all matters. One day your child will understand. And when they do, be ready to welcome them back with open arms. Because the greatest gift you can give your child is not money or status. It is the knowledge that no matter what happens, they always have a home to return to. And to all of you who have listened to my story tonight, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your time is precious, and you chose to spend it with me. That means more than you know. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever felt invisible to someone you loved? Have you ever waited in the darkness for someone to find their way back to you? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Your experiences matter, and sharing them might help someone else who is going through the same thing. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you have not already subscribed to this channel so you do not miss any future stories, wherever you are tonight, whoever you are, I hope you know that you are never truly alone. Somewhere out there, someone loves you more than words can say, even if they have not found the words to tell you yet. Merry Christmas, everyone. And may you always find your way home.